Well, ladies and gentlemen, the inevitable has happened. As we all know, yesterday, Barcelona went away to play against Slavia Prague for game week 7 of the Champions League phase. And of course, yesterday we got a massive dub, an important dub for our potential spot in the top 8 of the Champions League, because we all know it's going to be very important considering we don't want to play some playoff matches for the round of 16. Extra games, we don't want that, right? So of course, yesterday was a necessary win to potentially get into the top 8. Currently, we're in 9th place. We're right behind Newcastle and Chelsea, and we'll see next week. Hopefully, everything aligns for us to finish into the top 8 once we defeat Copenhagen. Of course, it's going to come down for us to beat Copenhagen, but it's also going to be a matter of how other results go as well, because this week we can definitely say has been a blessed week for Barcelona, considering a lot of fixtures have gone our way for us to be in 9th place currently. So I think next week is going to be a massive drama for the last game of the Champions League phase. So great vibes from yesterday, a great win. But yesterday, tragedy struck as well. Pedri Gonzalez, around the 60th minute, went down to the ground holding his hamstring. And of course, anytime you see a player in pain holding his hamstring, it is never good news. It is never good news because it usually means that they're going to be out for a long period of time. Genuinely, seeing Pedri on the ground like that just breaks my heart, man. Breaks my heart, because we all understand the importance of Pedri Gonzalez on this team. Like, Hansi Flick's reaction right here is all of us yesterday, looking up in the sky to the footballing gods and saying, why, bro? Why always Pedri, man? Why does Pedri always have to suffer injuries, man? Just leave the guy alone. Leave him alone. Let him play his beautiful ball. Let him show his class to the world where everyone can enjoy the beautiful game. Why do you have to injure him? Footballing gods, why? Unfortunately, Pedri went out with an injury again yesterday, and it sucks, man. It genuinely sucks, because we all know, again, we know the importance of Pedri in this team. We all know that he is irreplaceable. There's not a single player in this team that does what Pedri does, and his miss is going to be very evident. It's going to be very evident, and again, it just genuinely sucks that he's going to be out for what has been confirmed, a month. He will be missing a month of football, which we can say is definitely the best case scenario, because yesterday I saw a lot of reports saying that he had a minor tear in his thigh, his hamstring, he had a major tear, blah, blah. I saw a lot of things yesterday. Yesterday, it was nothing to believe 100%, just because it's just in the moment. Reporters want to say whatever they want to say to try to get the news out first, blah, 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 right? But today we fully got confirmed that Pedri will be out for a month, which, again, the best case scenario, considering, and for a hamstring, you just never know. It could definitely be for a longer period of time. Honestly, when it comes to Pedri Gonzalez and his injuries, I'm a bit hesitant to believe the actual news of people, of reporters and people saying, the club saying that he's going to be only out for a month, because we've seen in the past when Pedri has gotten injuries, yes, they say he's going to be out for 2 weeks, a month, blah, 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 and then we see, oh no, it's been extended. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully that's not the case. 1 month is good enough. Again, that's the best case scenario for the injury that he suffered, but man, we'll see. We'll see if truly after a month he'll be 100% fit for Barcelona, to use him yet again. If it means he'll stay out a little longer for him to come back 1,000% ready, I'm fine with that. Because I'd rather have Pedri 1,000% ready rather than 80%, 70%, 85%. No, I want him 1,000% ready for him to be available for the team, right? So we'll see after a month how Pedri does in his recovery after his injury, right? So one thing I could definitely say is that this is probably a blessing in disguise. It's probably a blessing in disguise, because looking at the games that Pedri will be missing, against Real Oviedo, against Copenhagen, against Elche, Albacete, Mallorca, Girona, a potential UCL playoffs first leg, Levante, and UCL playoffs second leg. Now, looking at these games, realistically, we should be fine. We should be fine without Pedri, because we have the quality, we have the team, we have the manager to win these games, be successful in these games without Pedri Gonzalez. Of course, Pedri's absence is going to be very evident. Like, we all know he just controls the game for us. He controls the tempo. He's so majestic on the ball. Like, you can hate all these cliches that people use, all these words, these fancy words. You can hate it all you want, but it's the truth when we're describing Pedri Gonzalez, bro. We all know the importance of Pedri in this team. Maybe some of these games he's been looking kind of off in. Maybe fatigue has been hitting him where he hasn't looked 1,000% the best like he has in the past. But one thing's for certain, that with Pedri not on the pitch is very evident. It's very evident. We've already had some games this season where Pedri has been unavailable with injuries as well. Not as major as in the past, but some minor injuries where he's been absent. And in those games, it was very evident when we didn't have Pedri. It's very evident. So Pedri's importance must never be denied. I don't care what any type of haters say. I don't care what anyone says. Pedri's absence is going to be very evident, and I hope people realize that. I hope people really realize how important Pedri is. But realistically, again, just looking at these games, we should be fine without Pedri. We should be fine without Pedri. This is why I'm saying this is low-key a blessing in disguise that it's happening now rather than later in the season, where we're going to need our best players. Obviously, we're going to need everyone available 100% because Barcelona are currently still running, are still chasing all the titles right now. We haven't been eliminated from any titles. We're still in the Copa del Rey in the quarterfinals. We're in the Champions League. Of course, we're going to see what happens next week. If we're going to play at playoff matches or we're going to go straight into the round of 16. And we're obviously fighting for the league as well. We're 1 point ahead, so we have to win every single game from now on, especially if Madrid are going to continue being in form and winning their games as well. So Barcelona are still in it for all the games, for all the titles. So right now, this happening for Pedri, again, it's probably a blessing in disguise considering he's not going to be missing any major games. Of course, for the UCL playoffs, if we end up having to do the playoffs, we're going to see who we're going to end up playing against. But hopefully it's no one difficult, because if we play those games, Pedri's absence, again, is going to be evident, and we're going to suffer without him. We know we're going to suffer without him. We know Pedri's absence. Players like Pedri, Yamal, Rafinha, when they're out, we notice it. We notice it, and we just wish for them to be back ASAP, right? We want them to be back ASAP. But I think now, after this injury from Pedri, and obviously understanding that Pedri's absence is going to be major for us, now the team had to be 100% on it for next week against Copenhagen. We have to win that game no matter what. Of course, us getting into the top 8 doesn't just fully depend on us. It's going to also depend on the other games, considering for the Champions League. Currently, hold on. What am I doing? What the fuck? All right, from the table, we're currently in 9th place. Again, Chelsea are in 8th and Newcastle are in 7th. Now, we're currently all in the same points, but of course, Chelsea and Newcastle are above us because of goal difference. And Newcastle play against PSG away, and Chelsea play against Napoli away. And of course, these other teams are trailing us as well with the same amount of points. Now, all these games are going to depend on goal difference as well, because for the most part, I see Sporting and Athletic. It's going to be a tough game, even match, I would say. So, Sporting, we might not have to worry about a lot. City going against Galatasaray, yeah, I think City will get a result. I think they'll understand that, hey, this loss against Sporting, I mean, the loss they took against Bodo Glimt, they can't do it against Galatasaray as well. So, I doubt they want to play another playoff match. Atletico versus Bodo Glimt, I see Atletico winning that. Atalanta versus, what team is this? Union Saint-Gallen, they'll probably win that as well. So, a lot of these games are going to be dependent. Again, the last day of the Champions League is going to be very spicy for sure. But Barcelona have to get a massive win against Copenhagen, and we got to get some goals in for sure. But I'm very confident that one of these teams right here will be dropping points. A tie or a loss for either of these teams, it gives us a great spot into the top 8 of the Champions League. Of course, when it comes to the game against Copenhagen, we will be missing Frankie de Jong as well. So that sucks for sure. I think the midfield that Hansi Flick will be putting up for this game is going to be Dani Olmo, Fermin, and then someone else. So, as much as this game is going to be important for us to get a top 8 potential run, it's also, I think, going to be evident of what the midfield Hansi Flick will be trusting from now into the future until Pedri's return. Because, again, as much as Frankie's not going to be in this game, from now in the future, obviously Frankie's always going to be in our midfield, and then number 10, either Dani Olmo, Fermin, and then someone else, right? So we're going to see who he decides to trust for this game. Will it be Eric Garcia? Will it be Marc Casado? Will it be Marc Bernal? We'll see. But looking now at the midfielders that we have currently, we have Casado, Frankie de Jong, Marc Bernal, Fermin Lopez, and Dani Olmo. And of course, if we want to put Eric Garcia in the midfield as well, because obviously he can play there, we can add Eric Garcia there as well as a potential backup for Pedri from now into the future. Now that's going to be the tough question to ask. What is the midfield that we want to trust? What is the midfield we want to trust to fill in for, quote unquote, fill in for Pedri? Because right now we can definitely say from all these players that we just mentioned, it's not about filling in for Pedri, it's low-key filling in for Frankie and a little bit less than Frankie, right? So Frankie low-key is the one filling in for Pedri, and then someone else will be filling in from Frankie, because Frankie now has to step up and do a bit of what Pedri does, going forward a lot more, playing the number 8, right? Naturally playing the number 8, like he's used to doing it for sure. But again, we've seen Frankie at times without Pedri next to him. Sometimes he shows a shell of himself. Sometimes he doesn't fully step up. Like I think the most evident one was against Chelsea, where we needed him to step up and he just didn't. So we're going to see how Frankie steps up for sure, because he's definitely going to be a player that has to just take it another level in Pedri's absence, right? So who is going to be Frankie de Jong's partner? And looking at it here, of course, Frankie de Jong is going to be one of our main DMs, our main double pivots. And I think for the number 10, I think it should clearly be Fermin Lopez continuing to be a starting number 10. The reasons being because Fermin has been in amazing form, getting goal contributions here and there, left, right, and center. And when you're in form like this, you just can't be benched. We can't bench him. Like he's been doing great for us, so he deserves to continue being our number 10. And Dani Olmo has just shown that, man, he's just more of an impact sub rather than a starter, right? So just put them at the role that they're best at. Dani Olmo being an impact sub and Fermin being a starter. Of course, if Fermin starts dipping in form, whatever, or Dani Olmo just proves us wrong in some way, then we can rotate. That's a great thing about having depth and competition, right? But right now, I would definitely say that Fermin Lopez has to be our main number 10. Frankie de Jong obviously being one of the main double pivots. And now who is going to be playing the other double pivot? Eric Garcia, Marc Casado, or Marc Bernal? I think most people would say Eddie Garcia, put Eddie Garcia there. But honestly, I don't want to see Eddie Garcia playing the double pivot role against alongside Frankie de Jong. It is not in any way to discredit Eddie Garcia or talk shit about Eddie Garcia. No, because he's filled in that role and he's done great things for us. Maybe alongside Frankie de Jong, it hasn't been the best, because we've seen in the past that they don't really work together. Again, the main evident one was against Chelsea. But the reason I don't want to see Eric Garcia in the double pivot or in the midfield in general is because Eric Garcia has been doing such an outstanding job in his natural position as a center back. So I want to continue seeing him in play there, bro. I don't want to see him, just taken out of there just because we needed you to fill in another role, because we have to finally just pick a position for this guy. Yes, he's very versatile, and that's the great thing about him, that he can play anywhere and put up a great performance like he's been doing so far this season. He's had an outstanding season, one of our most important players. But I also want to see him play at his best in his best position, and that's the center back role. And we've seen in recent games how important he is for us, how crucial he's been for us, bro. He's been so great that I just want to continue seeing him there playing that position, especially since we don't know the situation with Araujo, if he's confident yet or not. And Garcia has had a kind of a dip in form this season. Jetta Martinez here and there. So Eddie Garcia being the main solid guy who's continuously performing, I'd rather continue seeing him play as a center back so we can have some confidence in the back line. Someone that we can have security in the back line. So I don't want to see Eddie Garcia filling in for that role. So now that leaves Marc Casado or Marc Bernal. Who would we choose? It's kind of tough. Honestly, it's kind of tough. But when it comes to Marc Casado is someone that I've expressed in the past that I liked him a lot because of what he did for us last season. Last season, we all know he played a huge role for Barcelona, especially in the first half of the season with the absence of Gavi, the absence of Frankie. Bernal went out with an injury too, so Casado had to step up. Hansi Flick chose to have confidence in Casado, trust Casado, and he stepped up. He stepped up in the first half of the season. We remember those games against Real Madrid, against Bayern Munich. He played an important role for us last season. But since last season, he's had a dip in form. We can all agree he has had a dip in form, that he's been a shell of himself from what he was last season. And honestly, I don't understand it. I don't understand what's been happening with some of these players who from last season are just a shell of themselves. Like Koundé being another example. He's been nowhere near good enough as what he was from us last season, right? So Casado, he just hasn't been looking the greatest. The opportunities that he's been given so far this season, he was someone that I definitely wanted to trust, and I even went as far as saying in the beginning of the season, like, yo, he's the number 2 right now, or behind Frankie de Jong. If anyone's going to go after Frankie or Pedri, it's Casado because of what he did for us last season, what he offered for us. But clearly, he just hasn't been stepping up. So Casado is kind of tough right now, where I don't have confidence in him either. Obviously, when it comes to playing the other double pivot role alongside Frankie, is going to be more of a defensive player in the midfield, which Bernal, Casado, and Eric Garcia, that's their main job. That will be their main job if any of them are going to be playing alongside Frankie de Jong. Well, Frankie de Jong will have more freedom to go and attack, go forward, and of course Frankie will be everywhere. But the main job of the next double pivot next to Frankie will be more of a defensive work. And we know Casado, Bernal, and Eric Garcia do well in that, of course. But I don't know, man. Casado just hasn't been doing it for me, and he's shown this season that man, the trust is just isn't there 100%. So I'm kind of low key discarding Casado. Who knows? Well, I mean, we'll see what Hansi Flick decides to do, because he trusted the guy last season. Who knows if it could be like, all right, Casado, I trust you. You gotta step up now. We'll see. But for right now, I'm going to discard Marc Casado. So that leads the final option with Marc Bernal. Marc Bernal, we all know the potential of Marc Bernal. He's still a young lad. He's still a teenager. He's still very young, and he still has a lot of development to do and a lot of growth to be had in his game, right? Of course, Bernal last season went out with a major injury or an ACL injury where he practically missed all of last season, and so far this season, he's gotten minutes here and there. Not as much as he's probably wanted, but I can understand why Flick hasn't fully played him 100%, just because he probably doesn't want to take the same risk that he took with Gavi, where, all right, look like he's fine, look like he's good, because Gavi, I think he returned a little bit before what was expected him to be out for. I think he was expected for him to be out 8 to 9 months, something like that. I think he could return 6-7 months, something like that. I forgot 100%, but maybe Hansi Flick just wants to learn from his lessons in the past of Gavi and be like, all right, let me not risk the guy, because Hansi Flick has definitely expressed that he likes Marc Bernal, that he sees a lot of potential in him, and even this January window where we're seeing that there was talks about Bernal potentially leaving on a loan, and Hansi Flick says, I hope it doesn't happen. I want to keep Bernal. So if he wants to keep Bernal, that means you have to trust him as well, because as much as it's because what's it called? I don't know what I'm saying. Bernal definitely, if there is a potential of Bernal actually wanting to leave on loan, is because he wants to get minutes, and he hasn't really gotten it so far this season in Barcelona. So if you really want to keep Bernal, you have to show some trust in him and be like, all right, bro, Pedri's out. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you. I don't think Bernal's going to leave anyways, but still, if we really want to keep him, you have to show that you have confidence in the guy. Of course, he's not been 1,000% the best every time we've seen him. You know, he's had some moments here and there, but I think it's because he needs more game time. He needs more experience on the pitch. So the best way is just play him, right? So I really want to see Bernal play in this double PEDRID next to Frankie for these next couple games. Again, we'll see what Hansi Flick ultimately decides to do. He's the gaffer. Whatever he decides, I will trust, unless it goes to shit. We'll see in the games. But Bernal is someone I definitely want to see. I definitely want to see. And we know the characteristics he has as a footballer, as much as the physical characteristics as well. It's beneficial to have someone like him in the midfield as the number 6 for Barcelona. We've all said in the past that he has the Sergio Busquets vibe. So I think it's time for him to show it, right? Again, the risks are that a potential relapse in his injury. That's the main concern for that, because if we lose him too, man, it's going to suck ass. It's going to definitely suck ass. We'll see. Again, I can understand if Flick decides to say no to Bernal because he doesn't want to risk him, yes. But at the same time, we got to start giving this guy some playing time. We got to start giving him some confidence so he can build that confidence, get better, and be an important player for us, right? So I want to see Bernal. I definitely want to see Bernal. It is not to say that he will start every single game until Pedri's comeback. Of course, we'll rotate here and there, right? But I definitely want to see what he's capable of doing in these next couple of games, when he has the trust, when he gets the game time, and of course he knows himself that he needs to step up for these games, because as much as is because he needs to fill in for Pedri's shoes, or help out for the team because Pedri's absent, it's also for him to prove himself to the team and to the gaffer that, hey, I should be playing, I should be starting, I should be getting more minutes. So we'll see. We'll 100% see what happens from here on now. But again, like I said earlier, I think the game against Copenhagen is going to definitely give us an idea of what the midfield Hansi Flick will be trusting from now until Pedri's return. But yeah, guys, I mean, unfortunate circumstances, man. We all know Pedri's absence is a major one. We all understand the importance of Pedri, so it genuinely sucks that he won't be available for the next month. But again, like I said, it's probably a blessing in disguise that he's out now rather than later in the future, where we'll definitely 100% need him when we get into the later stages of the season, the important stages of the season, we can say, for when it all goes down, basically, when it all goes down. But yeah, guys, that was the video for today. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the whole situation. What is the double pivot that you will be trusting to play alongside Frankie de Jong? Who is the player that you trust to play and fill in that role in Pedri's absence? Marc Bernal, Eric Garcia, Marc Casado, Dani Olmo maybe? Or do you think someone else from La Masia? Or do you know any La Masia talents out there who do you think have the potential of being called out from Hansi Flick to play that role? Let me know all those things down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, favorite, hit the notification bell for every time we upload. Share your friends who love football. And I'll see you guys in the next video whenever that is. Much love. Take care and peace.